I don't know. It seems like we're trying to make a decision on that, and I don't know whether we should be, or if we have an option of putting in conditions to cover somebody else off.
Recording?
No.
And I guess we are open now to the public, so.
Yes.
Do you want me to? I'm just
Yeah.
an
Oh,
e-scribe
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
So, and the YouTube and everything
Yeah.
too.
Hi everyone, so just so you know, we're going to be starting recording now.
So how come this recording button isn't open? Only the YouTube one. Like this recording one here
Camille, our start time is
isn't
1:15.
showing, but it's green. Oh, there we go. I'm like, I tapped that so many times.
Dale just asked you if the start time is 1:15.
Sorry, yes, the start time is 1:15.
This is Peter Welsh. Are you hearing audio?
Yep, so when your item is called, you will be called.
Thank you very much.
Do you want me to take over the host?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let me know if anybody's chatting with you, because I can't see that.
Yeah.
So you're recording on eScribe now, or you're
Yes.
live on eScribe?
Yes, I just haven't tested it yet.
Okay.
Are you hearing audio?
Okay, so it's working.
Well, that's good.
How was that? The fries are really good. And that's from
So I don't hear anything.
that burger or, I think it's forgot.
On,
Is anyone talking in there?
on YouTube? No, nobody's talking right now on YouTube.
Not on YouTube, like in the meeting at all.
No.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, I'm not hearing anything. Was this normal?
Yeah, we'll have to check it again. Or maybe Almond can check it once the meeting is live. Or wait, no, you're doing minutes. Maybe Martha can check it once the meeting is live.
What?
I'm trying to remember who's doing minutes and who's doing what. Once the meeting is live and you've got sound on YouTube.
Well, I've checked it on the website and YouTube. I heard the sound. I wasn't hearing it from my actual WebEx,
Oh.
like
oh,
live,
okay.
like real time.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'm so confused right now. Confusing.
Oh, man, these fries are really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
I know. It's always nice when Martha shares. Would you like some fries, Martha?
No, thank you.
There's so many.
I know, but I appreciate it, but that's all you're eating. I already ate mine. Well, that's not, I snorted mine.
I had a massive burger last night and I was like, this seems good.
This burger looks amazing.
Yeah, they
Oh,
look
that
better.
does look-
They look better even than,
It looks like perfectly. Is it? You know how like McDonald's sometimes it's like falling over. Things are falling over.
they look bigger. Oh, yeah, they are bigger.
Fellow suggested some
Okay, who's talking?
We'll have to get that again.
We'll have to get Empire Burger sometime where we don't have to worry about,
A pre-meeting?
yeah. Some others will do it. Okay. Well, I have to remember now that Mark is in the chair.
Yeah, I know. I was
We
gonna
have
say.
to change all the decisions now when you,
Yeah.
when you do the decisions, you have to put the date all down. And that's gonna be
Going forward.
constantly thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely gonna be slower, I guarantee you, with Dale. So Mom, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Are you gonna apply for Jennifer's?
I was wondering that too.
Oh, probably not. Okay, good. Thank the Lord. That was the first thing I thought about.
I was like, ooh, I
Oh my
wonder if
God,
she'll
Alma's
wanna
gonna go for her job.
Why does nobody else have video?
Nobody else has video?
Oh, no, okay, so one other person does, they just, so everybody else must just not have theirs turned on. All right, that's fine.
I find a lot of people when they see that there's others that don't have their video, but they don't put their video on either.
Yeah.
I think they feel more comfortable.
I go. I could see what's a phone. I got inches to square feet, meters.
Okay, I have a question before this starts. So there was that one about the after the fact, and now they asked about like we could take it down, right? Like we could demolish the structure. So she's saying they're gonna start demolishing the structure early next week, but the application's already in. Do we just like not book it until it's completely closed and then make them
Yeah.
kind of essentially reapply?
Yeah, so they need to, it gets, have you processed their payment?
They partially paid. They paid the routine fee.
Oh, okay, so then don't withdraw it, just table it,
Yeah.
and.
I'll just like put it on hold just with no date and then
Yeah.
tell them like, let me know when you
Yeah, so they need to have some document that says.
from building.
Yeah.
So essentially building has to inspect it and say, it's been
Their
demolished,
work order
we're
has to
clearing
be-
the,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, and then, yeah, that's fine. No problem with that. So we'll need to amend the agenda going forward so that at 1:10, we'll do roll call and conflicts of interest.
Hey guys,
I was surprised though he was the one that nominated him.
Mr. Dudzik,
Do
hey,
you think
Where's
he's
your
gonna be
jacket, buddy?
very chatty
I got a jacket on.
about applications?
actually, I'm thinking of taking off my tie and putting on a Hawaiian shirt now.
Listen, I actually wore a suit to come to this thing.
Do you think he's gonna be chatty and not like discuss?
You're not supposed to be out of country, Mark.
He's so used to not, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I think the chairman's supposed to wear a jacket and tie, but
Yeah.
I
We'll
don't
have
mind
to
the
check
dress code. I don't mind the dress code.
maybe
Nobody
some
don't mind.
counselors should check
people don't
this dress
recognize
code.
me without the tie.
True.
How are we doing timing wise?
So it's just turned 1:15, so I'm going to call the meeting to order.
So we're
So we're going to do a roll call. Mr. Chairman, for the interest of the public, there has been a vote for Dale Smith to be the chair and Mark Dudzik to be the vice chair. So, Mr. Chair, would you be doing the roll call, or would you like me to do the roll call?
I can do the roll call.
Okay.
So when I call out your name, just state present, please. Tom?
Oh, sorry, he's
Present.
muted.
Present.
Thank you. Bob?
Present.
Mark?
Har.
Dave?
Here.
Mel?
Here.
Laverne?
Present.
Nancy?
Present.
Margaret?
Present?
And myself, Dale, present.
So all members are present and accounted for.
Yes.
And we'll now have, are any committee members declaring a conflict of interest for any files on the agenda today?
Yes, I will be declaring a potential interest for all of those in Ward 7.
Thank you. And no other potential or conflicts of interest? Seeing none. Mr. Chairman, I will call the first item on the agenda. We are hearing FLA 2191 for 827 Regional Road 97 in Flamborough. We have the agent registered to speak.
Yes, Julia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Just before you get started, do we have any other interested parties on this application?
No, there are no other interested parties registered.
Okay. Julia, do you have any comments on the report that was from the planning?
No, I don't.
Okay. Does the committee have any questions? I do have one question. Is someone here from planning for this one?
Through the chair to the committee, I am present.
Okay. So my question is on the square footage. They're requesting 104. I'm not sure on the math. So the basic first story of this building or garage accessory structure is 29 by 40 feet. So my math converts that to 111 meters squared.
0.48.
0.8. But there's also a loft, and there's a stairway to the loft. So does that loft square footage add on to this square footage? If so, my math shows another 40 square meters, which brings to a total of 151 meters squared.
There's a mic on it.
Through the chair to the committee member, yes, that would be accounted for within the total GFA of the accessory structure. However, these comments, the variances are written by building department and they reference 104.5, but you are correct. That would now be a variance to permit 40 something square meters, correct?
So I'm just wondering if that changes the opinion of planning from 148, give or take.
It is a little bit excessive. However, I think maybe the applicant can shed some light on why the loft is proposed and what the reasoning behind that is.
Yeah, for sure. So the loft was just used for extra storage that they were gonna put up there. That's what I have been told. They haven't said any other reason of why they would be using that area.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I'm just wondering if we should have the exact square meters of this accessory structure, because it's definitely more than the 104.5.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, did you want to ask if the applicant wants to table it, or do we want to hear from the committee members first?
Well, I'd like to hear from the committee members if what their feeling on this one is.
Okay, so we had Mel who wished to speak, and we had Nancy as well.
Yes, I was up there yesterday and I talked to one of the owners there, and I asked him, there's no habitable part going to be up there. There's not going to be any water. There's not going to be any washroom or kitchenette or anything up there, just for storing some of the supplies up there. So I did figure that out, and I know it's a little bit over the 140. So that is not any living area up there. It's not a big thing, not unless they want to change that. Thank you.
We had Nancy.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I was going to make the same comment about the math, but I'm wondering now if that application is going to be read seeking a minor variance of 104 blah blah instead of 97, where that would have to be recirculated, since it is almost 50% or 40% more than what the application went out for. So if that's the case, then maybe we need to look at tabling it.
So I have staff wishing to speak. I don't currently see any committee members wishing to speak.
Through the chair to the committee, I stand corrected. The loft wouldn't be accounted for within the total GFA. So it would in fact be 104, which is what we're supporting.
Can we ask why?
Well, I don't have the specific information, but I have just been received additional information from my supervisor stating that lofts are not counted in square footage for accessory structures.
Hi, this is June Christie, SPM on the Rural Development Team. Can I speak?
Mr. Chair, can we recognize June?
Yes, please.
Yep, Chair, typically accessory structures are usually one story, and I think we don't have a method of calculating a loft space. Usually it is for storage. What we're mostly worried about is if it's turning into, a habitable space with washrooms, etc. So I guess it's the footprint we want to make sure is subordinate to the principal dwelling. The fact that there's a loft there, I'm hoping that it's just kind of a half story where they really are using it for storage. So it's the footprint and the subordinate nature that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So the loft doesn't count in the square footage of the building.
I have Mel wishing to speak.
Yeah, after talking to him, being up there, from what I'm hearing, I'm ready to move the acceptance of the application.
Comment.
Okay, Mr. Chair, are we recognizing Nancy?
Yes, Nancy, please.
Thank you. I think the diagram did read 111.48. So just for accuracy, we want to make sure we have the right number in there.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
so I will second it with the amendment.
Okay, so Mel has a motion on the table for approval of the application with an amendment that the gross floor area in variance 1 be amended to what was it, Nancy?
11.48.
111.48?
Square meters, yes.
Okay, so 100. So can we do 112? I'm not sure why they didn't round it off. Usually they round it off.
Sure.
We'll do,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
Is that okay, Mel?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so a motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
In favor.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Carried.
Okay, and we will ready to hear FLA 2193 for 1806 8th Concession Road in Flamborough. And we have the owner registered to speak.
That's me,
Mr. Klaus,
Achim
Klaus, are you
Klaus. Sorry?
Yep, go ahead. Are there any other concerned citizens on this one?
No. There's no other
Okay.
interested parties.
Okay,
Um,
go ahead, sir.
I really don't have anything to add other than to be on standby for any clarifications as to this minor variance application. We already have approval, if you look through your material, for 133 and 134, which we've been working with over the last 2 years. And we were told as one of the conditions to clear for those two applications, we had to apply for a minor variance for the remaining farmland, which has always been farmland, and we are trying to maintain that as farmland. So, I mean, all of this is a bit of confusion for us because we're not really making any changes to what is left, which is the 37.5 acres. And that's what this minor variance application is for.
Does the committee have any questions?
I have Mel and Laverne with questions.
Yeah, one thing, Mr. Cross, did you see that there's a neighbor that is opposed to this variance? And I don't know whether you talked to him or not. It's across the road.
No, it was actually a surprise to see his letter. He made three main points on the letter. One is that his driveway was being used, which is not true. Because it is a concession road, there's no shoulder. And when a truck comes into the driveway, our driveway, as for his too, mind you, this is a new owner. Todd Walker owned that property for many years, which we had very good relationship with. These driveways are used to navigate for a truck just simply to pull in or back in. And in no way has a truck ever gone up his driveway. If anything, the truck might be turning on what is considered municipal road area in order to navigate, in order to get into that particular driveway that he has pointed out. So the statement that he makes is not true. The second thing that he commented on was the level of development. There is no development. Our three sons are intending to build on a portion of property that has been, we've owned the farm for almost 50 years. And when it was purchased in part because it was already designated as rural settlement area in that area that we have applied for 3 severances. And there is no development going on. The trees that have been removed are dead, or they were sold as crop as part of our Christmas tree operation over the decades. And as a matter of fact, there are approximately 1,500 trees going back into that area this spring. So that statement that he makes is, I don't know where he gets his information from. And the third point that he made sounds to me like a bit of sour grapes, as he is not aware that we are in a green belt, and we own other farms and properties in the area. And we know that you cannot build or sever a lot for anyone in the family on any of these properties. Having said that, this property is within the rural designated area, and all we've done is finally fulfilled what it was designated for literally for the last 50 years. And to make a comment that we are being treated any different than anybody else is totally false. And quite frankly, I find that offensive. Like, we've gone through 2 years of going through all of the rules and regulations in order to get this severance approved. And then someone like this, because they're ill-informed or because there is this requirement to apply for a minor variance, which doesn't make any sense at all because it's already in the official plan, which I can show you here. I mean, this map was taken right off of.
Mr. Kraus, I understand that area. I know it well, so I know exactly where you're coming from. I just wanted to make you aware that there was somebody that sent that letter in, and I don't think he has much to stand on. So I think you've put your points very well.
Okay, thank you.
And we had Laverne.
Yes, just a comment. I very simply want to coincide with staff's recommendation here, and I would like to make a motion for approval.
We have a motion for approval, seconder?
I have Mel.
Rob.
Any additional comments before I call the vote? Seeing none? All in favor?
In favor.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Carried. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boss.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're hearing ANB 211742 or 766 Book Road East in Ancaster. And we have the agent registered to speak, as well as their lawyer and I believe the owner is also registered to speak.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members, staff. Valdemar Nickel here on behalf of the ownership. Thank you.
Do we have any other concerned citizens?
No, we don't, but I did want to bring to the attention of the chair and the committee members that circulation was only was sent out, sorry, for part of the property. There was a mistake in the circulation calculation, and so only part of the property was used for the boundary of the circulation and not the other part of the property. You may have seen that in some of the comments that there were some of them address that. So, Mr. Chair and committee members, you are able to make a determination as to whether or not additional circulation is required or if you believe notice has been circulated.
So if the committee would like to suggest whether we need to table this to have the proper circulation done or whether we are allowed to carry on with this.
So I have Nancy wishing to speak. Oh, sorry, Nancy, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. In light of the number of comments we've received from neighbors and residents in the area, I think they obviously found out about it somehow, but for due process, I would prefer to see it recirculated.
Okay, so I'll just need a motion from someone to direct staff that further circulation is required.
I'll make the motion. I didn't hear anyone else disagree, so.
I'll second.
Bob second.
And Bob seconded. All right, so we will table the application and it will be recirculated as soon as due process can be circulated, which I believe will be the May 20th hearing. So the May 20th hearing. So we will.
May I speak to the motion?
Briefly.
Asking.
Thank you. My name is Peter Welsh. I beg your pardon for the echo we may be getting. I'm far afield. With respect to the motion for recirculating, it would appear from the multitude of responses from the neighbors, virtually all of the neighbors are now aware of the application, and indeed the repetitive comments clearly indicate that everyone is aware. And given that this application is founded upon the writing of an inadvertency of the merger of two properties and not anything more than that, an inadvertency under section 50, each property was acquired by the current owners at the same time or within 14 days, and inadvertently placed the properties in the same corporate name. The responses from the opponents have nothing to do with the service, but rather the utilization of the properties should there ever be in the future any development.
Yeah, so Mr. Welsh, you're getting substantial echoes, so I believe you're either in the same room as somebody who has their volume turned on, or your microphone and your speaker are too close together. And you're logged into the meeting twice, which produces substantial technical issues.
So, Mr. Nicol, I would make the comment that there is a due process, even though it is a merger on title that happened, there still is, I believe, a due process that everyone within that surrounding boundary area has to be notified officially. Even if they have all found out by word of mouth, it still has to be done officially from the city for this application. So I guess I can apologize as far as the city goes, but there is a due process, and I believe we have to follow that due process. I think a lot of the misinformation is that these residents do not understand what the zoning is of this property. And they're just loading that into the effect of this application, which has no reading on what you're trying to do here. I understand where you're coming from, but I do believe that there is a process to follow. And I think as a motion has been made, I don't have a seconder yet. No, yes, I do have a seconder. Bob seconded that.
You just haven't
If I could chime in for 1 sec. Mr. Welsh, this is Mark Dudzik speaking. As a fellow solicitor, the worst thing that would happen is that we just approve it because clearly it's a technical severance and probably everyone does know. But then if we do that, then they have a clear-cut grounds for appeal based on that they didn't get official notice, and then you're dragged on for another year and costs. So probably the best is just to have it recirculated. It'll likely be similar comments. It'll be brought back, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, so there was a motion on the floor and was seconded, so we just need to call for a vote.
Yes. All in favor of tabling for recirculation?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Carried.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Committee, thank you for your time, staff. Are we then confirmed for the May 20th hearing?
She's checking.
I'm not sure in the time involved for the recirculation.
Yeah, so it will be scheduled for 1:10 on May 20th, and we will circulate to the surrounding property owners again, and all those who did not get it.
And as a matter of process, given the question at hand is circulation radius, what is the new circulation radius that is being proposed, and how is that being determined now, so that we can have this question 30 days from today?
So it's not a question of the radius of the circulation. It was on our system. It shows the two properties that were inadvertently merged as still being two separate properties. And so only the 744 one was selected and not the 766 property was selected and not the 844. So it was an error due to our mapping software.
I see.
So it would be the mandated 60 meters under the Planning Act.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, hearing adjourned.
Thank you, staff committee. Until next month.
Okay, and we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing GLB 2119 for 1640 Trinity Church Road in Glanbrook. And we have the owner registered to speak and no interested parties.
Yes, welcome to our meeting, Mr. Wallace. Are there any concerned citizens on this one?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Wallace, would you like to walk us through your application, or if you have any questions on the comments?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Can I give a bit of background to this application?
Yes, would be appreciated. I think we heard this one about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it started in April of 2019. There was a bit of a mix-up in the city hall, and it got redone in the fall. And November 28th, 2019, the committee met and approved the application with the eight conditions. Once the application was received in the middle of December, we didn't really do too much right away because it was winter. And that was a big mistake because COVID hit us in March and shut us down in a lot of ways. And so things slowed right down. However, we did proceed with dealing with the conditions. There was a barn removal, a survey to be done, a clearance certification of the septic system. And all three of those have been done. But it took until mid-February 2021 to get the registration of the survey completed, which enabled us to move forward on most of the other items. Unfortunately, the extensions given by the, I believe it's the province, to the city, I believe it was 104 days, and I may be quite a little off on that, allowed, which meant that the conditions had to be met by March 12th, was not enough. In spite of the fact we were shut down for 164 days in that span of time, but the city was not allowed to extend it more. So we have moved to a resubmission, which is what this April 22nd documents are in front of you today. Most of the concession, well, all of the items in the November 2019 conditions have been dealt with. Some of them are still in process with the city. I have been told that the work will move forward to the resubmission, and then I'd like to go to the resubmission to speak to it for a moment. In the consolidation report of April 22nd by the city, Source Water Protection seems to be recommending that the severed lot size be 1 hectare instead of 0.67. It's a problem because if we don't deal with it, I'm not sure, but there might be an appeal by the water department. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a developer, so I'm a little foggy on the details of this, but I think it needs to be cleared up. The decision of the Committee of Adjustment, November 28th, 2019, was that the severance should be for 0.67 hectare. That was also the same for the application consent severance dated April 11th, 2019, and the current proposed severance in front of you also says 0.67 hectare. Secondly, we've already proceeded with that basis. We have done the surveys, we have registered them, we've forwarded them to the city, and any change of that, aside from taking more land from the farm, will cost us money to redo. I did speak to the surveyor this morning. Of course, they're willing to redo it. But he says it's not a huge deal to redo. We would have to increase the lot in width by about 40 meters. So that's the first issue. Shall I just move on to the next issue, or do you wish to discuss that?
I think maybe we should discuss each one at a time so that we can get clarification on each item at a time. So okay. I have a copy of the original conditions that were sent out at that time, dated November 28th of 2019. And in those conditions, it does state 0.6718 of a hectare in that list of conditions. And hearing from the applicant, that's what he surveyed because that's what he was told to do in the list of conditions. So I'm not sure where the committee sits on this one. Source Water is still wanting 1 hectare. He fulfilled the conditions that were set out for him back then. Questions from the committee?
So I did have David's hand raised electronically. I'm not sure if that was inadvertent, David. Okay, thank you. So did any committee members have any? So I see Margaret.
Yes, do we have somebody from Source Water Protection to comment on the size of the lot? Because their comments imply that they wouldn't sign off on it if it wasn't 1 hectare or if they didn't have a sufficient hydrogeological study. So do we have anybody who can comment on that?
So there's no one from Source Water Protection registered to speak. I'm not sure if someone from planning feels comfortable speaking to that or not.
Through the chair to the committee. So I did speak to Mike Christie with regards to this application, who is part of the source water protection team, and so the one hectare is what they would like to see as a sustainable amount for a surplus farm dwelling severance. Also, in addition to that, they have confirmed that a scoped hydro-G will be mandatory as well. In addition to that, I can't really speak too much with regards to any other details.
May I ask why it has become mandatory when it wasn't mandatory in the previous application? What has changed?
Through the chair to the committee, I'm really not sure about that. I can't comment on their comments from the previous application and this one.
So I'm wondering if the application, because it's under 1 hectare, that requires a hydrogeological, but if they were to bring it up to the 1 hectare, it wouldn't need the hydrogeological. Is that?
Through the chair to the committee, yes, they would still require, although it would be a scoped hydro-G instead of a full hydro-G, which is a lot smaller.
So to staff, is this new? Because up until now, as long as someone met what source water wanted, then they didn't have to do any kind of hydrogeological study. So is this a new process?
Unfortunately, I can't comment on their process.
Through the chair, I can speak if you'd like, or June Christie.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the Trinity Church proposal went through C of A. You're saying it's 2019. It might have started long before. It might have started before that, but it is an official plan requirement to have a certain lot size. It may have been missed the first time around. I'm not sure, but they're tasked with complying with our official plan in terms of appropriate lot sizes. So there is a minimum lot size. I'm not sure. It could have been, it is going before you again, so they might have had a second look at it. But if they are thinking that it needs to be a bit bigger, that's what I was, that it be a bit bigger.
Okay, thank you for the comments. I'm just wondering, a comment would be, since they fulfilled the conditions back in 2019 as to what was required, and if they have to go through to survey the property again to bring it up to the 1 hectare, I'm just wondering who should pay for that fee, because they did what they were requested to do, and now Source Water wants the full 1 hectare. Should the applicant be forced to pay to have it resurveyed, or should the city swallow this one?
I don't know we'd have to look into what was the conditions prior to and what's happened and why, we'll have to look into the history of this. I'm not prepared to say that it should be the city. And I can't speak for Source Water right now. So maybe it would be best that we table it and sort it out.
Okay. So I'm asking the applicant, I know you have some more concerns, but I'm just wondering if you wish to table it at this time, or do you want your other concerns from this time? I think the strong recommendation is to table to get this sorted out. We don't want to vote on this, and if it goes through and then Source Water appeals, you could be a year or more before you get any kind of a settlement out of this.
Well, first of all, it disturbs me that I'm being somewhat penalized for doing what I was requested to do. And as I said, we can expand it to a hectare. I mean, we have 3 farms. We're not going to be short of farmland. We just don't like doing it. But we can do that. I don't know exactly what you mean by scoped as opposed to full. But in my experience, anything like this takes a long time to get done. And that's a big concern since my tenant has to leave on July 1st, because that is the arrangement that was made with them. And I'm going to be ending up with an empty house and not being able to do anything with it. So I have a lot of concerns about delaying, but I don't want to get into an appeal, of course, either. So I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. If we need the table to get it done, then fine. There are a couple other concerns, though, which to me are critical. It seems that somebody in the city in the consolidation report feels that the farm is a budding farm to our other farms, and it is not. I refer back to consolidation report of the city issued April 11th, 2019, which said it is not, and therefore the Nebo Road Farm cannot be included in the condition of severance. And there is another condition here where they want us to be giving right-of-way property on the Nebo Road Farm, which, again, for the same reason, should not be there as far as I know. And finally, not final, but there is in the conditions of the applicant to dedicate the city of Hamilton by deed sufficient land adjacent to Trinity Church, the November 2019 conditions had this clause, but it had this clause with the words if required. So it's been dropped, and that is a problem, I think. So those are 3 other, in my mind, significant issues that if we're tabling, something needs to be clarified on those also.
So I entertain a motion for tabling, and hopefully, and maybe I could suggest that you get the local councillor involved in this one as well. But I'm going to call for a motion for tabling, and you can get these items sorted out with planning before it comes back to us again.
I have
Motion for table?
Mel making a motion.
Yes, I'll make the motion after hearing this and I know what the property is and what they've gone through. And I think table is the best thing to do right now to get this sorted out as soon as possible. And I think they also had the councillor involved, so I'll move the table.
And I had Nancy seconding. We just missed what you said, Dale. You'll just have to say it again.
All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
It's carried.
Thank you,
Okay,
people.
Mr. Wallace, you'll have the opportunity to
Thank you,
speak with
committee.
staff, and you can try and address your concerns with staff.
I will do that.
Hearing adjourned.
Okay, so we are now hearing FLA 2199 for 411 Concession 5 West in Flamborough. And we had the agent and owner registered to speak, but I do not see them on the line. So I'm not sure if you are the agent or owner for this property. Please make yourself known. And Mr. Chair, I had no interested parties registered for this one.
Okay. So the agent or owner for Concession 5 West Flamborough. Are you available?
No, I do not see them on. They, no one is indicating that they are here for this item.
What are the wishes of the committee? It is about 2 o'clock. This one was called for 1:35.
I have David wishing to speak. You just have to unmute yourself, David.
Yeah, let's push it to the end of the day. That's the best we can do. And if we, I make a motion because it is a negative comment. So
Okay. Stand this one down to the end.
yeah.
Getting the echoing again. Oh dear.
Nancy, do you mind just shutting your door? I think we can hear some people chatting in the back. Thanks.
There's only 24 people here. There's a pretty good chance.
You're not supposed to have a party, Nancy.
I know. I'm kidding with 24, but there's a lot of them out there.
Okay. All right. So we are set to hear the next item, just making sure I'm in the right order. So we are hearing HMA 2192 for 928 Barton Street in Hamilton. And I have the agent registered to speak for this one. And planning staff would like to amend their recommendation. It was noted that there was a technical error in their recommendation.
Yes. Okay, and are there any other citizens listed?
No, there are no other interested parties.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yes, so through the chair to the committee members, there was an error on my behalf of updating our recommendation. So I just wanted to clarify that the intent is to recommend approval for this application, and variance 4 is not required. The recommendation was not correctly updated in accordance with our position. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And sorry, Jennifer, and just to make sure the conditions are still to remain correct in your recommendation?
Conditions 1 to 3, condition 4 can be removed.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Webb, do you have any questions or concerns?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're all good.
Great. Yeah, I was going to make a very long-winded presentation and beg for some further relief, but having heard what the city planners just offered you, I have nothing further to say. If I understand correctly, we have full support for the variances as amended. The requirement for a parking justification study has been deleted. So on that basis, Mr. Chairman, members of committee, we are in full support of the staff position. You will have been provided letters from the local BIA and the councillor as well. So we have full support for this matter and would respectfully request committee's endorsement.
Any questions from the committee?
Move it.
Sorry, David, were you making a motion or were you had a question?
Motion.
Okay.
Motion, please, to move it to, or second it from Nance, however.
Whatever. I'll be 2, you be 1.
Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to approve as amended, and it is seconded.
All in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Carried.
There you go.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the balance of your agenda.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so we are all set for the next one. We are hearing HMA 2189 for 377 Charlton Avenue West in Hamilton. We had the owner and agent registered to speak, but I do not see them on the call. So if the owner or agent for 377 Charlton Avenue West is on the call, please make yourself known.
Do you have any concerned citizens on this one?
Nope, so we do not have any interested parties registered.
Okay.
Did any of the committee members want to make a motion?
I have a comment. Since this isn't universally supported, I don't know whether we should be necessarily making a motion yet. There was recommendation that one of the variances be denied. So is this another one that we should put off to the end of the meeting and in the hopes that the applicant shows up?
I also have David who wished to speak.
Yes, thank you. So the variance that's recommended denial is an eaves and gutters side yard situation. I don't know how, major that is. I viewed that application. I see that it looks pretty good overall, but I mean, it's a particularly small variance in terms of that. We can deal with it because I don't think it's a huge issue, but it's up to the rest of the members, I guess.
Any other committee
Thomas.
members? Comment?
So you just have to unmute yourself, Thomas. There you
I
go.
got it. With respect to variance 5, the staff seem to say that the requirements can be complied with. And that's the reason for their recommending, they say, based on the foregoing, general intent of the official plan is maintained. General intent of zoning is not being maintained, but the paragraph before that on page 5 of the comments, staff is of the opinion that the proposed eaves and gutters of the proposed detached garage can conform with the requirement of the zoning bylaw, and staff recommend applicant revise a submitted site plan to conform with the requirements. So that we're by in effect going with the staff recommendations, we're not shutting this guy out if he can in effect meet the bylaw. So I don't see why we can't go ahead.
Okay, we just had somebody join. I'm just going to see if this is the agent. So if the agent for 377 Charlton Avenue West in Hamilton is on the line, you need to unmute yourself if you're on by phone. And I believe you have to press *6.
Hello, Curtis here, agent for Nola Fuller.
Okay, good. Yes, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I couldn't get logged in there.
Okay, so you are the agent for Carlton Avenue?
No, this is 377 Charlton.
Charlton.
Yeah.
So did you read the report from planning?
Yes. Yes, I did there. Yeah.
So your comments on variance 5?
Yes, basically, we just, we wanted to put the eaves and gutters on, and we were going to drain it to the rear of the alley there. It's elevated back to the rear of the alley. We've gotten consent from both neighbors there. They both agreed with us. And the back of the garage also has 2 driveways to the right and left of it there, so it won't encroach on any fencing or any backyard areas there. We thought it was a good idea to do that just so that there isn't water drain off the roof there onto their full driveway. We can basically bring it to the back of the alley and keep everybody happy.
Committee have questions?
I have David.
Yeah, so you've agreed with the neighbor next door that you don't have an issue with that at all? To the applicant?
Yep, they're perfectly in approval.
Okay. Well, if it's being drained properly, you know what, I kind of know, I don't have an issue with it, so unless somebody else does, I'll make a motion for approval on it.
Okay. Before I accept your motion, I'll just ask if there's any other questions from the committee.
I have Thomas.
I don't quite understand those last comments. I thought the concern of staff was that the gutters at the side yards would have no clearance, so that if the gutters overflow, they would be in effect dripping down on the neighbor's property. The comments with respect to draining to the back, I don't quite understand that. Is that still with the gutters having 0 clearance from the side yards? That was a question.
Yeah, to the agent or owner.
Yes. No, just I believe that they wanted us to be within the half meter there. So the actual gutters won't encroach over top of the property line. They'll be set back. So if they were to even overflow, it wouldn't be on the actual property of the neighbor.
Well, all right, but that's apparently was not what was submitted. The staff's comments seem to be on the basis that what was submitted was that the gutters were right on the property line. So is your plan modified now? Is that what you're telling me?
No, the garage is actually already built under permit. It was all approved. And we were under the impression that we were within the tolerances there, but after closer examination there, they brought it up that they wanted us to be within the minor variance limit only for the eavesdrops, is what we were told.
Yes. So what do you
But
do about it?
They do not encroach on the neighbor's yard if they were to overflow.
I don't think you're understanding me. It's not a question of encroachment. It's a question of the gutters being 0 clearance from the lot line. Staff say that's a no-no. Is there something you can do? They seem to think that the requirements can be complied with.
Sorry,
They haven't been by the sound of it. Staff want to come in on that?
Does staff want to comment? I guess my question is, is this the existing garage? To the agent?
He gone?
Did we lose him?
I think we lost him.
No, so he's still showing as there. He's just muted himself, so I'm not sure. Oh no. Okay, so yep, so he's gone. I'm not sure why he dropped the call. So we have David wishing to speak.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to picture this. So the eavesdrop is parallel to the property line. And if it was to overflow, well, assuming that the drain's plugged up and it doesn't go to the rear of the property, what it's not supposed to do, and it does overflow, it overflows on the neighbor's property, which is another driveway. If it was to be brought in 4 or 5 inches, it would still overflow and probably still go on the neighbor's property. If the other thing is what are you supposed to do? Have them cut a piece of the overhang off and bring it in even more? It would look kind of awkward. So I don't really think there is a solution here. Just hope that you put faith into the fact that it is a drainage system and it just runs off and goes in and goes out the back. I'm just trying to put things in perspective here.
Well, in virtually every case, as I understand it, the staff have refused these things. The other issue is cleaning the gutters, repair, etc. You have to go on the neighbor's property to do it unless you have the appropriate clearance. And generally, staff have said, and we have agreed, that if you don't have an agreement with the neighbors in writing to allow you to do that, then they don't approve the zero tolerance. It seems to me this is a case of it's easier to beg forgiveness than get permission. It's unfortunate, but they built something and it doesn't seem now find that it doesn't meet the requirements. And what do you do in a case like that? First suggestion is you fix it. That's all I have to say.
Does planning have any comments on this one? I mean, we're talking, I tend to agree with David on this one. I mean, even if we were a meter away from the lot line, you're still not going to get a ladder up to do service work on that eave trough. 3 feet out from the building still doesn't give you enough area to service that eave trough. The neighbor has no problem with the issue, so if that's on record, there's really nothing to go back on later on if they okayed it. But I'd like to hear from planning on this one.
So through the chair, I don't really have too much to add other than staff needs to review these variances consistently, and so that is reflected in our comments. But items like encroaching onto the neighboring property and access for maintenance and items like that were evaluated through this. So, but I really don't have much more to add than my comments reflect.
Anyone else on the committee?
So I have Margaret and Nancy.
Yes. The thing is that neighbors change. So you could have a friendly neighbor at the moment and a not so friendly neighbor 3 years down the road. Is it possible to put a condition on there that says that they have to enter into a maintenance agreement with the neighbor to deal with the maintenance issue for the eaves troughs? That's my suggestion anyway. Okay, not a question, a suggestion that we add a condition that they get a maintenance agreement with the neighbor. Or
Okay, and then we had,
approve.
Sorry. Okay, and then we had Nancy.
I'm unmuted. There we go. Okay, Margaret, that's again a good idea, except if once again, as properties change hands, if the next neighbor didn't want to assume that agreement, then we have a new problem. What I'm seeing on the application and on the comments is that there's a whole pile of building permits here and a couple of order to complies and some stuff that doesn't comply with the OBC. So it sounds like there's a whole history of things. It seems as though the garage is built and somehow that garage got built with that minimal side yard prior to considering the gutters, I guess. It looks like there's been an attempt to change that, but unless planning is happy to accept that amendment or that redesign, I guess you could call it, of the gutters, then it's still negative in my mind. And I'm assuming that planning has not seen the configuration of those gutters, or it would have been changed. Am I right, Jen?
Through the chair, that's correct. I haven't seen revised plans at all.
Okay. So is there an opportunity to put this aside and have those plans brought back to staff so that they can approve these and we can move forward without any doubt?
Yeah, so we can either have a motion on the table to approve as written, approve as amended, approve with the removal of variance 5, the approval of with a condition. I can't remember if I said that, or we can have a motion for tabling or denial.
Okay, David, you had a motion on the floor at the start there. Where do you stand on this one?
No, sorry, David, you just have to unmute yourself.
You know what? I like them all, but I'm gonna stick. But I'm gonna add Margaret's in there. I know it can change from time to time, but for the time being, that they have to put them all up. And I'm hoping that the new owners would assume, the maintenance agreements like a good neighbor. And I like Margaret's suggestion of approving it with the neighbor coming on board with a maintenance agreement. That seems to be in between happy for everybody. That's my motion.
Okay, so just to clarify, the motion is approval of variance 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the amended wording as per building circulated in the comments package, as well as with 2 conditions, one from planning that was circulated in the comments package, and with an additional condition that the owners enter into an access and maintenance easement with the neighboring property.
Okay, I'll second that.
That's David's, okay, and then seconded?
All in favor of that motion?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Carried. Application approved.
Okay, so I believe we are all set for the next one. We are hearing HMB 2116 for 218 Beach Boulevard in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Morning, Chair, members of the committee.
Oh, yes. So I believe the agent registered on the file is Steve Frazier, but we have Ryan Ferrari or AJ Clark and Associates.
Morning, everyone, or afternoon now, I suppose.
Good afternoon, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Hope everyone else is good as well.
So do you have any concerns with the comments from planning?
Yeah, so just quickly, Mr. Chair, if I can. So we're fully in support of the staff recommendation to approve this application. This is a straightforward severance application, but let's conform to the zoning bylaw. The one note that we had is with regards to condition 4. You'll note that condition 4 is with regards to an archaeological assessment requirement. So these lands are located on Beach Boulevard. So the future single detached dwellings we're proposing for the property are going to be subject to site plan control. So through that process, we anticipate that we're going to have a discussion with staff regarding the archaeological assessment. So for the purposes of the severance application, just requesting that the committee move it and consider a note, and then let us deal with the archaeological assessment at the site plan control process. So those are my submissions to committee, and that would be all for today. Just the changing condition 4 to a note.
Does the committee have any questions or concerns?
I have Mel and then Nancy.
Yes, I'll move with the condition, that condition.
And I'll
The
second it.
condition removed or the condition to remain?
No.
Condition, a note.
Okay.
The note.
Okay. Thank you.
Mine was the second.
And Nancy seconded?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
Okay. Carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations on your new job, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you on the other side.
Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
All right. We are all set. Oh, sorry, go
There
ahead.
is life after a city job.
Yeah, committee of adjustment.
Okay, so we are hearing HMA 2234 for 18 Morden Street in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak, as well as the owner and one interested party.
Good afternoon, committee. How's everyone doing?
Very well, thank you.
Amazing.
Great.
Do you wish to
I'm
hear
Charles.
from?
I'm probably put down as the interested party, but I'm more the applicant than the agent.
Sorry, so we have the agent registered as G Day, and then we have Charles McPhail. So for some reason, I'm not seeing who's speaking right now. So can you identify yourself?
Charles.
Okay, thank you.
And then Graham works with me. Graham Day works with me.
Okay.
But this is a project that we brought to you guys. We brought you guys this back in December, and with a long list of variances. So we tabled it to have further discussion with planning and building to get some clarification on the requirements, the official plan, secondary plan, and zoning bylaw requirements. So we had some productive conversations. We managed to bring it back to you today with going from 8 variances down to only needing 4 variances, as well as having staff now on our side and willing to support this application along with us. Our discussions with the building department were regarding the interpretation of one of their policies. In doing so, we were able to remove a habitable room that they were counting, which enabled us to remove all of the parking variances. So we now have no variances required for any on-site parking. And then our discussions with the planning department, which were also very, very productive, we managed to get them on board with a full story addition as opposed to a half-story addition, given the wording in the zoning bylaw, which allows the full 3rd story as opposed to a half a story. So the only resulting variances we now have are, although they're related to the proposal, they're also existing variances, existing non-conforming issues with the property that we're essentially legalizing at the same time as proposing this 3rd story addition. We've had conversations with immediate neighbors to the east and west, as well as several other neighbors in the neighborhood. All have provided letters of support of our application, which you should all have copies of. And I'd be happy to have a discussion or answer any questions that anyone may have.
Does the committee have any questions?
No, I'm gonna move it.
I have Nancy with a motion for approval.
With the conditions.
With the conditions, and I have Laverne seconding.
All in favor?
And I,
Here, here.
Opposed, if any?
seeing none.
Carried.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Cheers.
Okay, and we are all set for the next one. So we are hearing HMA 2197 for 15 Wexford Avenue North in Hamilton. We have the agent registered to speak, as well as the owner and 2 interested parties.
The agent present?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Nick DeFilippis, thank you. I'm here. And I think my property owner is online too, but I don't see her on the list.
Yep, she's here, and the 2 interested parties are also.
Do you wish to hear from the interested parties first?
Please, if you don't mind, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so we will hear from Ashley Parker, registered to speak on this file.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, sorry. So I live to the west of the house at 17 Wexford Avenue. And one of my issues is that in order for it to become a duplex, that was something that when I was purchasing my home, that was one thing that I was adamant that I would not be purchasing a house that was going to be directly next door on both sides of a duplex or a rental. And I had purchased this house about 6 months prior to the owner taking ownership of this house. And I know that this will affect my resale value of my home, that if it is become a duplex, because many homeowners feel the same way as I do, that they don't want to live beside a duplex. So that's going to affect my value significantly, possibly when it comes to sale, or it will cause problems with just selling and making it a longer process. In terms of privacy and noise, again, the close proximity of these houses, noise is evident, and it's obvious that I will hear lots of the noise. So if there's multiple families that are going to be living in there, that's going to affect the quality of my home environment. With the back deck that was installed, currently I can hear everything on that deck. So every footstep, every word that's talked about, I can hear it because that is where my bedroom is. The back deck that has access to both doors into that home, into the main floor and also to the basement, but specifically to the main floor, that deck is about 15 inches from the fence, and the deck floor is about 7 inches from the height of the deck. So it's considerably close to the height of the fence. So that is a big concern for me because I have zero privacy now in my backyard space, whether I'm on the ground or on my deck, as well as due to this back deck now installed, they have access to my bedroom. So they can fully see inside my bedroom. So that's a big privacy issue as well as they have access now to gain entry onto my property, which I've caught several people doing that using a ladder. In terms of the front porch, the original house prior to the renovations had the downspout running down the front of the house, and it ran off into their driveway. Now, due to the renovations and with the extension of this new porch, the downspout now runs to the side of the house and runs onto my driveway. I was never spoken to about permission to allow this, which obviously I would not. And it causes water to run off all the way across my driveway. And in the wintertime, now that I got to experience it, it caused major ice buildup. And again, that's going to affect the condition of my driveway, which is asphalt, as well as, again, resale, because possibly homeowners would not want that as well and have to deal with that problem. And with the basement, in order to allow it to become an additional unit, I I could be wrong, but I feel like you need to have some type of fire escape window in order to allow a living space down in a basement. And I believe this window possibly is the one that is on my driveway side. The problem is that is where a vehicle is parked. So if there was an emergency or an evacuation had to be out of that window is completely blocked by the vehicle. So there would be no access out of that. And that's all I have to say at the moment.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, we did have another interested party registered to speak, but they are not on the call.
Okay, yeah, we do have a letter from, I think, the neighbor on the other side.
Other street.
That voiced,
On Houghton Street, no.
that voiced their concerns. Anyway, to the neighbor, you do realize that the zoning in this area does allow a duplex in this area. Now, to the agent or the applicant, what is your feelings here? There's more negative comments than there are positive comments, and I'm just wondering if you would wish to table this application to see if you can work out some of the problems from planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we'd like to proceed, and I guess my client is anxious. I guess she has a lot of money invested, unfortunately, in here, and needs to sort of know where she's headed. And it's necessary. I mean, she wants to move in. She's a single mother, and obviously this basement apartment will help offset some of the costs of living. I just for one quick question, the neighbor that spoke there said she was west of this house. Can I get an address?
17 Westford.
Okay, so she's north of it, not west.
Oh, well, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
West of this house.
Yes.
No, not one.
Okay, so,
as
your just one moment. So your request to hear this hearing, so we will hear it and we will vote on it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, so I've got a chance to, I will respond to some of the neighbors' concerns. I've had a chance to go through the staff's comments. I guess one of the first ones I want to bring your attention to is on, I guess, page 2 of 7 of the comments, but where they talk about variance 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're saying that we're only having a lot area of 121 square meters, which is not right. It's 253. We're only 17 square meters shy of the lot area permitted for a 2-family conversion on this property, not less than half, as they sort of indicated. Our reduction in variant in lot area is very small compared to what they've insinuated or led us to believe on their comment. The actual lot area is 253, 270 is the requirement, and they wrote 121 is what we have, and that's not true. The majority of these variances are dealing with, well, there are two main issues, dealing with the proximity of basically the front and rear porches, both from a side yard perspective and a front yard perspective. Dealing with the front yard first, and sort of contrary to some of the comments from staff that this is out of character for the neighborhood. I look at streetscapes for the entire street and street view from Google, and our house sits pretty well, and our porches sit almost dead even with everybody else's along the street. And very few, if any, have any kind of a proper legal driveway for parking, which is the other issue. We are aware of and most certainly agree with the staff's recommendations that we get a proper boulevard parking space in front of this house, which they're alluded to. And I mean, is parking there now? I guess in this case, there isn't an actual agreement in place, and that would not be an issue to have that obtained. I look at the street and I see a mixture of single parking areas, double parking areas, some grass landscape and so on and so forth. I mean, we chose to try to provide a portion of the site with some landscaping, and then obviously allow for at least one space that can fit based on a boulevard parking agreement. And that's why we've asked for 0 spaces, because none of the parking spaces will be physically on site, but off site. I've been before committee many times, and it seems to be in many neighborhoods that tend to choose, especially when you know, we have good access to bus routes and walkability and so on and so forth, to have some green space. And that's why we were planning to take away some of that hard surface and create a green area beside the parking area. Physically, I mean, when someone sees it, they'll see a driveway with a grassed area. Where the actual property line is immaterial to someone perceiving the street side character of the street. One of the comments was about the side yard setbacks of these porches. We're not making the porches any wider than the house as it sits today, and the side yards that exist today and have existed for 50 years on this property, if not longer. We're trying to maintain very close to what's there now. We have offset where it's very tight on the north side, where we have barely 6 inches of side yard. It's offset it just a little bit more so that our eaves troughs are not any further than they need to be from the property line, and still maintain what we have there. Access on that side is already limited to none and won't change because of what the small porches that we're adding in front and back. I alluded to a little while ago, somebody talking about maintenance of the eaves trough. Well, I mean, nobody's that really talked about in the last comments, and anything can be done from anywhere. I mean, they can also maintain the eaves trough from the roof that really had to be. You know, there's many ways that someone can work off the edge there without having to put a ladder onto the neighbor's property. However, in this case, it doesn't change because the property's there. The house is already at that location. The other comment regards the parking, like I said, is that we're trying to maintain at least one parking space so that there is something, although not on site, something that is available. The 2-family conversion, again, the property does permit two units. The neighbor who said, you know, we want to make sure to guarantee there'll never be a 2-family dwelling. I mean, even her property is zoned for 2-family dwelling, no different than anybody else on that street. I guess the committee is also aware of, you know, the changing bylaws. And I mean, most recently, I think this week, the city has passed a bylaw or planning to pass a bylaw where the entire city will permit every single family dwelling to have a second dwelling unit. So it's not an uncommon thing. And much to what she may have said, that this doesn't decrease your value, it increases the value of your property because it provides some income for people to be able to afford or continue to use their properties as they see fit. Mm-hmm. The escape window that the neighbor talked about, there's a staircase that provides proper exiting into the basement apartment. That window is not for escape in any way. It's only a window for a bedroom that's in the house. The deck that we provided at the back is very close to the actual permitted setback. The setback is 0.6 meters. We're at 0.25, so we are shy, but not that would make a difference for any kind of noise or sound. I mean, the deck has a railing. I'm sure that they could eventually provide further screening. I mean, the height of the fence is limited by bylaws, so it's not within our control. The neighbor's house at 17 that Ms. Parker was commenting about, her house is probably 30 or 40% deeper than our house and many of the other houses on the street. So obviously she's going to have some sort of a side yard that's almost on top of the neighbor, no matter what they do next door there. And like I said, being an owner-occupied house with an apartment obviously makes it all that much less intrusive to to the neighborhood and being able to control what, they seem to be the negative aspects of having a second dwelling. I'm glad to answer any other questions or anything else, but I think that the application does have merit to be supported. It does have the variances are not onerous. We are in keeping with the zoning bylaw for the area, the plan for the area and the designation for 2 units. Unfortunately, the only issues are mainly these the proximity of these two porches and the roofs to the neighboring property line. Existing house requires 2 spaces. We have none, so that hasn't changed. The fact that we're providing 2 dwelling units requires 2 spaces, so there is no real change being proposed to the requirements of parking or the allowance to provide parking as designated by the bylaw. Thank you.
I have a question. Nick, when did this new bylaw for the entire city get proposed? This is news to me.
I think it went through people this week. It's supposed to go to council next. It's been in the works for a while. I think it's province-wide. It's not just Hamilton. It's something
So that means we should have committee every week now. If that's going to come out, I can see the floodgates opening.
Yeah.
We've had these.
Or no longer need committee in many cases. It's already in a.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we do have
we've had a
person who is here if you wanted more clarification on the site or not site specific, or citywide bylaw. It is not in effect at the moment, as far as I know. It has been, I believe, approved by planning committee, but is still subject to ratification. My wording may be wrong.
And that's what I said. It was approved.
Yep.
Well, these are our toughest, in my opinion, these are our toughest applications right now. And I certainly wouldn't want a duplex necessarily next to me, but if it's permitted, it's permitted. And we have to wrestle with this every time. And we tend to accede to it every time. So I don't have a huge problem given the nature of the situation. That's my comment.
Do you want?
So the other comment that as chair, that I would bring up would be also under the building division. And I'm not sure whether we have any jurisdiction under that, but just, there's been building permits that have been issued that haven't been finalized. And there's a couple of orders to comply to outstanding problems. And one being the roofed over rear yard deck not being built to the approved plans.
So Mr. Chair, I'm just going to put everything out there and then you can let me know what you want to do. So we have Mel who wishes to speak, and then I'm not sure if the committee wants Councillor Pearson to clarify the second dwelling unit policies, or if you wanted that brought back at another business meeting. I think that was one of the items that I had for the training for later.
I think we should wait for that.
Is that the planning is denying all but 2 of the variances from 1 to 6 they're denying, and 7 and 8 they're accepting 8 on 1 variance but not on the second one. So is the staff there to comment on that?
Through the chair to the committee members. Sorry, is there a specific question that you would like me to speak to, or just the?
Well, just from variances 1 to 6 are denying all of them. So I just wondered whether there's something there that you want to talk on, whether you would change on any of those variances.
So through the chair, staff's major concern is with, in terms of the actual use, is to do with the parking. Acknowledging the new bylaw for secondary dwelling units, it's not really that we have an issue with allowing a duplex in that area. We just want to ensure that the necessary parking is being provided. And based on the submitted materials, it is not clear if any parking will be able to be provided. Given the projection of the front porch, it's not clear whether, even if the existing driveway is replaced, if that will be sufficient space for, in length for a parking space. And so that's the major concern with the use. And then the the distance separation of the deck and the front porch from the side yards is also a concern for privacy and access, especially for the front porch, as the stairs are shown to be accessed from the side of the porch. So it's unclear how there'd be sufficient space to allow that to be used, to allow for those stairs to be accessed without trespassing onto the neighboring property. So those are the major concerns from staff that is reflected in my comments.
I wish to staff, Jennifer, would it be premature for this to be dealt with, or should be more staff before we deal with it?
My opinion, Mel, is if the concern is fitting a parking spot and this is conditional on getting a boulevard parking agreement, then if they can't get one, it would fail anyways. So that's the major issue. Yeah, that's what normally happens in these ones. And then if they get it, it's fine. If they don't, it fails anyways.
Okay. All right, no, I just wanted to clear that so we.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other committee member question?
So I have Margaret.
Yes, I just want to mention that I actually did go out to this site the other day, and the front porch does not seem to be to conform to the drawing that we have with our application, because the stairs seem to come out to the front rather than out to the side to the neighboring property. So I'm just wondering if there has been a change, if that would affect at least one of the comments that staff had. So you walk from the sidewalk up the stairs.
Can I respond to that when you're ready?
Yes.
Okay, the only reason is that we proposed, I'm not saying that this is existing situation. This is what we thought would be a better situation, because if we're going to provide that parking space in front of that porch, it would be better that the stair be changed to go sideways, or else you're going to decrease the length of that boulevard parking space by, another 3 or 4 feet. So we're trying to make it easier to get on that porch without reducing the potential parking space. That was the only reason that we proposed it opposite of what they actually had there. We're not saying that every single thing they built is what we're put on this application. This is what we'd like to see as a condition of approval.
Okay, so you're going to be changing the location of the stairs. That's your...
Right, to what we've sort of proposed, so that we could keep that parking space that we require. It's no different than I suggested previously, that we're trying to put some landscaping in, even though there isn't any right now, instead of putting 2 parking spaces. So we could put the 2 parking spaces in and then completely eliminate any landscaping in the front. And then I think it becomes a solution as to which is a better solution, eliminating the landscaping or eliminating the potential second parking space. In our case, we chose the landscaping because we thought it would give some separation or provide a little bit of availability to, some green space on the property into the front yard. And as I said before, there's a lot of houses, almost every second one has all driveway or all green, all driveway or all green. So we chose a little of both. So we would still be able to keep a parking space on site.
Okay, and I have Nancy wishing to speak.
Am I unmuted? Yes, I am. So I'm looking at the photograph of the porch, and I did drive by it as well. And I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not quite sure the length of that driveway with that porch there is going to give you the required boulevard parking length as it is. That still would mean that you're deficient by 1 parking space. And in light of, I'm sure Councillor Pearson, if it's decided, is going to speak further on SDU. One of the things that isn't going to be tolerated is the shortage of parking, as each and every house is going to come forward now looking for a secondary dwelling unit. Parking is going to be one of those things that's going to be pushed as mandatory. I sat in on that meeting for about 5 hours the other week, and I mean, there's a lot of what ifs and a lot of maybes on it, but it isn't going to be as easy as slam dunking without parking. So unless there's a guarantee of a parking spot or a condition, as Mr. Dudzik said, to make it a condition that a parking boulevard agreement is approved, then I'm not ready to support it.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chairman? We have no condition. If they want to make a condition of 2 parking spaces, we can certainly make sure that they give us a boulevard for both. Like I said, we don't have to do the landscaping.
Then you miss the 50% green space though, right?
Yeah.
So there be, again comes the
conundrum.
Conundrum. Which one do you want, grass or you want parking? In some
Personally, I would rather have the one spot, some grass, and they're right near the corner near the buses. So there's likely a person that would rent that type of unit generally wouldn't have some big fancy car, or they wouldn't be there to start with. And having one spot grass would be my personal preference if I was living anywhere in the neighborhood. But
as long as that spot fits.
On that basis, I'm prepared to make a motion for approval, subject to approval of a boulevard parking agreement.
Did Councillor Pearson wish to speak first?
Oh, I think she's
waiting for her word.
She left.
Yeah, I think she might be on another call. Councillor Pearson, I just wanted to clarify, this isn't your ward, but we're...
Yeah, that's why I didn't...
My apologies. I was on the phone because I had a meeting at 4 o'clock in Grimsby and I just canceled so I could stay here and answer your question. So yes, as on Tuesday at Planning Committee, we were talking about secondary dwelling units as of right. It was approved, is going to council for ratification, and the bylaw will have to be, will be drafted. And we had to take this initiative. So the province is requiring it as of right, that everyone is allowed, providing their lot, they can meet the conditions of such buildings on their lot. Every home in the city of Hamilton that has the proper size will be allowed to create a secondary unit inside their house and a standalone secondary unit outside on their backyard or side yard property. Just for committee's indulgence. And this is provincial directive for intensification. We could say, no, we don't entertain it, but the province will step in and make their own rules and regulations. So we are setting our own guidelines. And yes, it will be as of right going forward. 2 units per property.
Wow.
So my question to Councillor Pearson, that is only for the urban area at present?
It's, you know what, now you got me because I'd have to pull it up. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it would be urban. There may be some rural, but they'd have to follow guidelines. It's only single semis and townhouses, if I'm not mistaken, that would be allowed as well. So there's still some questions that I'm making lists even as I'm listening in on your meeting. So I'm really glad I'm sitting in today because I have 2 items coming forward. But yeah, there's a lot of issues that are going to be concerns going forward in the future, especially the resident who is the neighbors who is concerned about this, because this is something that we have to implement. If we don't, the province will take carriage of it.
Yes. And
okay, thank you,
for the
Councillor.
committee members, just for clarification about this, so for committee members, we will have training with regards to the new policies. We just have to get all of our ducks in a row about it first. But we will have it just so we don't get bogged down and asking questions about it right now. And then for clarity, so we had a motion by Mark to approve.
Thanks, everyone.
With condition. And that is as far as
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
David.
Okay, so I see David.
I second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed?
So I have Margaret, Thomas, Bob, Laverne, and Mel opposed. So that is 5 opposed.
Motion denied.
Okay, and somebody want to make another motion?
Make a new motion?
I'll make a motion for denial.
Okay, so I have Margaret with a motion to deny. I have Mel
Seconder.
seconding.
Well, seconded, I voted against it.
Right, so that was Mel seconded. That was motion by Margaret, seconded by Mel.
Okay, motion to deny the application. All in favor? Opposed?
1, 2, and then David, are you opposed to this motion? Yes, you're opposed. Okay, so I have 3 opposed.
Okay, so motion is carried for denial.
And just in case you didn't see it, Kevin Webster joined the meeting. That was the one that we put aside till the end.
Yes. If we were ahead of schedule, I would entertain to hear it now, but since we are behind, I think that we will carry on with the schedule we're on, and that one will be held at the end.
Perfect.
Okay. So we are hearing HMB 2120 for 41 Beechwood Avenue in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Good afternoon, members of the committee.
Good afternoon.
We are...
did you read the comments? Do you have any questions?
I do. I'm hoping I can just have a quick minute for a spiel. We just have a concern with a couple conditions. So if I could share my screen, I'll jump right to it, if that's all right.
Yes.
Thank you. There we go. So again, my name is Matt Johnston. Happy to be here today representing the owner of 41 and 43 Beechwood. The subject property, as you can see, is on the north side of Beechwood in an area comprised of a mix of semis and singles all along the same street. Unfortunately for the, we have one of those scenarios where there was an error on title, where the mother removed her son from title, inadvertently merging the 2 semis that you see on the screen today. So that's really what ultimately led us to this this application that's before you. So historically, it's been always 2 separate lots with a semi-detached dwelling, and it was 2017 when this error occurred, and now we're just getting to the point to try to untangle it. Just quickly, we're in a neighborhoods designation. We're zoned C district, which permits singles only. Although it only permits singles, you can see there are a number of semis that are also on the same street. And that's really what I'd like to just hone in on is we have 4 conditions of approval that are really rather onerous given what's transpired here. We have dwellings that were built with permits at the time, compliant with the building code at the time they were built, and reestablishing this lot line would preferably not require us to kind of go down that road of a building separation analysis. Then similarly, we have conditions number 5 and 6. 5 actually requires a zoning bylaw amendment application be approved to permit semis in the C district zone. And condition 6 requires that any of the existing nonconformities get recognized in the zoning bylaw, whether it's the decks, the landscaping, etc. Again, these conditions are costly. A routine zoning amendment, which is required to permit this dwelling, now costs $24,000. That's a big jump that occurred in 2020 with the fee schedule. So a really substantial ask. And we do have scenarios. I've got more than a handful of applications that we've dealt with relatively recently where I was dealing with inadvertent lot mergers. And then the committee's wisdom and kind of sympathetic to the scope of what's transpired, conditions related to the merger were softened and waived. I don't need to rattle through all the addresses, but we had building separation conditions waived. We had zoning bylaw nonconformities waived because all what we're really doing is establishing this lot line from a 2017 inadvertent error. So with that, I would be, I asked the committee to consider that request. Let's change the title back to the way it always was, and hopefully we can move on. Happy to answer any questions.
So Matt, which conditions did you want to delete out of the 6?
Conditions 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Committee, have questions, concerns, motion?
So I have Thomas and then Margaret, or sorry, Thomas and then Nancy. Sorry, you're underneath each other again.
How long has the building been there?
You know, given, I don't have a very firm answer through the chair to the committee. Judging by the nature of the street and its location in town, you know, I'm thinking that this dates back to the 50s.
No.
My question, I suppose, is really, is it illegal non-conforming or is it just non-conforming?
The staff report correctly notes that it's legal non-conforming as it is today, but it's the introduction of this.
Sorry?
So it'd be before 1949 if it's legal non-conforming.
Thank you, Mr. Dudzik. But the staff, and yes, the staff report declares it legal non-conforming.
All right. I guess the other question is if there may have been some additions which may or may not be, just looking at the front of it, may or may not be illegal non-conforming.
Okay, and then we had Nancy who wished to speak as well.
Yes, I think all of you will remember we have gone through numbers of these. I mean, I know the area. It is well before 1949. This is probably more like a 1930s or something house. It's definitely pre-war. And these happen a lot, as I'm sure Mr. Dudzik will tell you, where things get merged inadvertently. And based on our history of doing these on all the city properties, I would be fully happy to make a motion to separate this again into 2 individual ownerships.
Okay,
Sorry.
before I accept your motion, is there any other questions from the committee?
I have a question. The staff say that if this goes through, then it will lose its legally non-conforming status. Could that cause large problems in the future if the zoning bylaw amendment was not a requirement? So what are the implications of not having it conform to the zoning?
I think by minor variance, that would circumvent that problem. So it was legal non-conforming. Now it's been approved by variance, so that would make it jibe in terms of the zoning.
Sorry, just for clarity. So once a property merges and when they go to create new lot lines, it loses its legal non-conforming status for the existing conditions. So the exterior lot setbacks, etc., may still be considered legal non-conforming. This is an interpretation issue, and so I'm not fully comfortable speaking to this. I'm just speaking to this in generalities. But when you put a new lot line through this, it does, generally speaking, would be considered a change to the property, and so it would be considered a change in legal non-conforming status. So they aren't applying right now for a minor variance to recognize legal nonconforming status or any other issues that may be part of the property, generally speaking, if you get a zoning bylaw amendment, you do not then need to apply for a minor variance because it's all rectified with the minor variance. So if you wanted a minor variance, the way it's phrased now, that would not be a requirement if we were to remove 4, 5, and 6, just for clarity for everyone.
Okay, on that note, I'll second Nancy's motion for approval without 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve with the removal of conditions 4, 5, and 6. So that is no condition for spatial separation distances, no condition for zoning bylaw amendment, and no condition for verification that the lands conform to the existing zoning.
Correct.
And there's no condition for a minor variance.
Correct.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in
Seconded
favor?
by Dudzik.
In favor.
Sorry, so that was motioned by Mark and then seconded by, motion?
No.
No, motion by
Nancy and then
Nancy,
Mark.
thank you. Seconded by Mark? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'll call the vote again. All in favor? Opposed?
So I have Margaret opposed.
Motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
And Matt Johnson, you may want to check out the latest proposed changes to the Planning Act. Some of them deal specifically with this, just if you're dealing with these files in the future.
Thank you, Jamila. I will.
Okay, and I believe we are all set for the next ones. So we are hearing HMB 2121, HMB 2122, HMB 2123, all for 51 Gibson Avenue in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Okay, who do we have here for the agent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Jared Marcus from IBI Group.
Yes, welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
So do you want to walk us through any of this, or are you happy with the conditions?
I think I'll make this one easy on the committee. I'm happy with the staff report and all the conditions. So if you see fit to approve my application, I can go to my next meeting.
So does the committee have any questions, concerns, or a motion?
Move it.
Motion.
I have
Laverne.
Laverne with a motion and seconded by Nancy.
Sure.
Yes. All in favor?
Here, here.
Opposed?
Seeing none?
Carried.
Thank you for your time.
That helps catch us up a bit, eh?
Yeah.
Happy to do my part.
Thank you very much.
All right, we are all set for the next one. We are hearing HMA 2194 for 16 Algar Avenue in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Just one moment, please. Are there any interested parties on this one, Camille?
Oh, no, sorry, there are no interested parties.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to build a garage, and I'm working on a rather narrow footprint. So I would like to be able to maximize the space of the garage and, push into the setback a little bit. So that's why I've been asking for a setback of 0.6 meters. I see staff is fine with, city staff is fine with 0.6 meters. I do see that the development engineering is, they think there'd be a drainage issue because we'd need a swale and they think we'd need 0.9 meters. Kind of surprises me. There is no swale currently. My driveway goes right up to my neighbor's property and we do not have any drainage issues. But if I would prefer something like 0.75 meters, if that's not possible, I'd be willing to work with 0.9 meters and take a foot off the width of the garage.
Okay, what about variants 2 and 3?
Okay, variance 2 is probably, yeah. When I was dreaming of this garage, it seemed like a good idea. When I saw the staff's comments, it's kind of like, yeah, I should have thought of that. So I'm willing to cut down the eaves and gutters projection. If I was to do a 12-inch 12-inch overhang with a 5-inch trough, 17 inches would be 43 centimeters. Wondering if that would be acceptable. As for number 3, I looked at that. I didn't originally put it in my application, and I looked at that and thought, well, why don't I just make the garage bigger and make that one moot? Is there anything in this process, if I get a variance, that would prevent me from doing that?
Is that a question to the committee?
That's a question.
Yeah.
So if you would need to conform to the zoning bylaw. So if you are able to increase the size of your garage in a way that conformed to the zoning bylaw, then you would be able to do that. There's nothing that prevents you from being able to conform to the zoning bylaw with these variances if they are approved.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does the committee have some questions?
I have Margaret and Nancy.
Can we clarify, is number 2 going to change? The applicant was talking about possibly increasing the side lot. So would that would also change condition or variance number 2? Is that correct? Is the applicant there still?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So you were talking about possibly making the garage a little narrower and increasing the side lot.
Yes.
Okay, so what were you going to be changing it to?
Well, what I would like would be if we can do 0.75 meters with a 0.43 overhang, that would give us just under, that would give us 0.27 meters from the lot line.
Okay.
Okay, so you're requesting to amend both variance 1 and 2, not to remove, and then to remove variance 3?
And remove variance 3, yes.
Okay, and then I think we had Nancy who wished to speak as well.
I think you clarified my my question about the same thing. I'm okay now. Thank you.
Planning department want to comment?
Do we know what staff are going to be happy with? I'm wondering if this is one of those situations where we should table it and work things out with staff, and rather than try to figure out in our heads all these variations, which I'm having some difficulty doing. It'd be nice to have a revised application and a picture of exactly what's being looked at or being required.
So
And maybe getting staff on side with the whole thing.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we do defer to development engineering with their grading and drainage concerns. So it's difficult for me to speak to how something other than the 0.9 that they've indicated might be received by them, or how it would work on the ground. I mean, providing another some width in addition for the eaves and gutters does satisfy that concern there. But then I'm just not sure how to. I don't want to speak for the engineering. So depending, the applicant may choose to request that it be tabled so that they could discuss with them, or I'm not sure yet. That's I just don't want to speak to that that comment from them.
So the applicant, in this case, the applicant is making the building less intrusive rather than using up more area of the lot, which is a benefit. But again, it's up to the committee whether you're willing to accept some numbers here or whether you would rather see it tabled and have some hard numbers in front of us.
Well, for purpose of discussion, I'll move to table.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table.
And I have a second by Nancy.
All in favor of tabling? Opposed?
And sorry, Mark, I just can't see you. Are you opposed
Oh, sorry.
to the motion to table?
No, of course not. I'll speak up if I'm opposed. Don't worry.
Perfect. Thank you.
Every time I turn on my film, it shuts off after like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We only accept pretty face.
Okay,
Okay,
so
to
oh, sorry.
To the agent or the owner, so it has been tabled. As I commented, your proposal is to make it less intrusive. So I'm hoping that you would get more positive comments from the different departments. But if you can address the issues with planning with your new numbers and then check with Jamil, the secretary, to get you back as quick as possible.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'll work with them and try to come back with something that hopefully works.
Great.
So we're all set for the next one. So we are hearing SCB 2118 for 583 Barton Street in Stony Creek. We have the agent registered to speak, and we also have Councillor Pearson here to speak on this one. And no other interested parties.
Okay, is the agent available?
Right here. If I can figure out how to get this all figured out.
Would you like to hear from the councillor first?
Mr. Chairman, I am in full support of this application if this moves us along. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, how are you? Okay, I'm all set up.
Okay, Jerry.
I already told them I'm in support of it, Jerry.
Fantastic. Thank you. My only concern is this. There's one condition that I'm a little concerned about that wasn't in the first application. This was approved over a year ago, but unfortunately there was delays because of COVID getting all the conditions fulfilled. That's why we're back here. But there's now a requirement that we get approval. We get an archaeological study. And I don't see any basis for that requirement.
We could put it as a note or if required.
I'm sorry?
We could put it as a note or if required.
Perfect.
Okay.
Is that okay with the committee?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll move it with that note.
With the note?
Yeah.
Second.
And Laverne seconded.
Yeah. Did you have any other questions before I call the vote?
No,
for
I'm
the
good.
agent? Okay,
I'm good.
all in favor?
Here.
Opposed?
Seeing none.
That is carried.
Thank you. Okay, we're good.
Okay, we're all set for the next one. We are hearing HMA 2187 for 58 East 24th Street,
So they did
Hamilton.
this, they did, okay.
And I have the agent registered to speak as well as Councillor Pearson and no interested parties.
Hello.
And the agent?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Would you like to hear from Councillor Pearson first?
Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, Jamila, can you just reiterate the property? Because I think you've jumped back to Hamilton. I'm here for federal way down on the list, the next one.
Oh,
Sorry. It's okay.
I highlighted the wrong one. Sorry.
It's okay.
So yes,
I'm
we're hearing-
down the list.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
we're hearing
Thank
58
you.
East 24th Street.
Okay, back to the agent. Questions and concerns about the comments?
Yeah, so I just would like to speak to some of the comments that staff made. First of all, thank you for having me today. So the purpose of this rear addition is to facilitate a secondary unit, as stated. The reason we designed it to align with the existing structure is one, consistency with the appearance, and two, to maintain the required unit area without impeding too much into the rear yard. As you can see, there is an existing garage in the backyard, which kind of already takes up a lot of space. So we are just trying to work within what is existing already. So staff support variance 1, but have deferred that to development engineering. And development engineering has no issues provided that the existing drainage pattern is maintained, which is good. For variance 2, staff has expressed that the purpose and intent of the official plan has been maintained, but the zoning bylaw has not. I believe that if we are able to align the new gutters with the existing ones, then the existing drainage plan will be easier to maintain. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Thanks.
So does committee have any questions? Seems like a bit of an echo from one earlier today.
So we have Mel wishing to speak.
Yes, I was up to visit the spot yesterday, and there's like ours being renovated and added to it. But my question is, the new part is going to be exactly in line with the old part, and the eave troughs will be connected as the same as?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That was my concern, and it seems like there's a very little distance between those two houses that are there now. So, but they're lining up everything, so no drainage difference will be changed. So, other than that, I have no concern about the eaves. Then,
Yep, sounds good to me.
Anyone else on the committee with questions?
So I have Margaret.
Yes, I think that this is very similar to the other one. I think that staff, my understanding of staff's comment is that because there is no separation, the eaves go right over to the property line, that there's no ability to maintain the eaves. And I know that the existing house is existing, but we are actually approving an addition to this. I'm a little concerned about the zero clearance. Now, I didn't go out and visit this one, but is the existing eaves now right on the property line, if the applicant could confirm?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Little concerned about that. The last one we had, we asked for a maintenance agreement with the neighbor. But But, okay. Comment for the moment. I'll ponder.
Okay, is there anyone else with questions or comments?
If not, I'll make a motion for approval.
I had Nancy with her hand raised, so I'm just not sure if,
Nancy?
sorry, Nancy, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, just a question. There was no comments here on parking. Now, I know there's an existing garage in the back that I couldn't get to today because there was a truck back there cutting a tree down. So just to the applicant, is there sufficient space for 2 parking in that garage?
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then I believe we had a motion from Mark. I just didn't quite catch what the motion was.
Yeah, motion is for approval.
Yeah. If there's no other questions, seconder for that motion.
I'll second it.
Patty.
You got Laverne as a second?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Okay, it's carried.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
Okay, and we are all set for the next one. We are hearing HMA 2188 for 146 East 34th Street in Hamilton. And we have the owners and agents registered to speak. So I'm just not sure who's going to be speaking on behalf of all of them.
So, hi, my name is Deep. I'd be speaking on behalf of the owner for this property, Carlo.
Thank you. And we had no interested parties.
Okay. Do you have any questions or concerns about the comments?
I don't actually. Would you like me to make a presentation on this?
Committee have any questions, concerns, or a motion?
Move it.
Nancy with the motion to approve, seconded by Mel.
All in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
That's carried. Thanks for your brief submission.
Take care, guys.
Okay, and we are all set for the next one. We are hearing HMA 2190 for 500 Mohawk Road East, and we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Is the agent there?
Yeah, so you just have to unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
John, if I could just interrupt, you've read the comments, and I'm just wondering if you would wish to table this to see if you can get better comments from planning.
Well, I certainly am thinking about tabling this, but I just wanted to quickly mention our minor variance application was generally asking to add an additional 1 tiny bachelor unit in an existing storage area that's empty currently. And we were proposing to improve the site. It's not, my client definitely wants to make the parking lot better. Currently, what is shown as loading space on the site plan is actually where the garbage sits at the present moment. And the site super puts out the garbage every garbage day to the curb, and the city picks it up. So really, there is no loading zone that we really need. I'm a little confused, I guess, as to what the planning department is asking, because we're just trying to better the site, better the condition. We do plan on fixing up the parking area. We do plan on providing additional parking spaces for the betterment of, well, to make it more usable for the people that live there as well as any visitors that show up. We're just asking for one additional very tiny bachelor unit. And so I'm a little surprised that there are so many comments here.
I guess regardless of the size, even though you comment it's a very small bachelor unit, I guess it triggers a lot of variances in this situation, and that's why planning has a lot of comments.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised because we do want to work with the city, definitely, by all means, and we do want to make it better. So I'm just baffled that, this has become so onerous when we're only asking for something so extremely minor in nature. And it's an existing site, and my client is a new owner. He just purchased this property July last year, and his intention is to improve it as much as he can to make it better looking for the city, better for the neighborhood, and for everyone that resides there as well. So that's why I'm a little surprised at all these comments. The city currently picks up the garbage at the street. So do we really need a loading zone? I wrote that there because that's what it is at the present moment. So when I read all these variances, I'm a little bit surprised that it has become so extremely onerous. But anyway, we will do what the committee members and Mr. Chairman, you say. We want to work with the city as well. So if there's any way you can help my client and me, I would really appreciate it.
Committee? Questions? Motion?
Nancy?
Yes, I was there this morning, and I was baffled as well, I might say, to the applicant. There was nothing there that indicated to me any type of a loading area. There is green space in the back of the property. There's green space in the front of the property. The reference to a planning strip, I'm assuming, I guess I shouldn't assume, but might be between the abutting apartment building and the driveway. Not quite sure how that can happen because there's already a concrete abutment there to separate the two. So again, I don't know where all these variances came from either. Maybe the way the application was written up caused some confusion, but the loading space is nothing that anybody wouldn't have, and that is to put your garbage out on Thursday mornings. So any clarification from staff would be super helpful.
Sorry.
And maybe if that was not added into the application that it is a loading zone, it might not have triggered a bunch of variances. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, really, I apologize, but really, it isn't any kind of loading zone. It's just an area where the garbage is stored. I could have put garbage storage area instead of loading space. It's not any type of loading space. I didn't quite know what kind of terminology to use. My apologies for that.
Does planning have any comments on this, please?
Yes, certainly. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the drawing indicates a loading space, and so what that is it's defined in the zoning bylaw, and so it looks like you're creating a new loading space.
No, my apologies. We are not creating any new loading space. We're just, that's where the existing garbage is stored. I should have called it garbage storage. Maybe that wouldn't have triggered anything. I apologize for maybe using the wrong terminology.
So
Okay, John,
again, so the zoning examiner, through you, Mr. Chairman, if I may continue, if that's okay?
Yes, please carry on.
Okay, thank you. So the zoning examiner is reviewing it, and she's looking at your drawing, and she's looking at where you're proposing the loading area. Which is, now we know that it's just garbage. This is why I recommended that you requested tabling. So I see in her notes, note number 1. Note number 2, an expansion to the existing parking area is proposed, and therefore compliance with the current zoning. So you might find if you're not expanding the parking area that the variances are a little bit different. You might need a variance to reduce the total number of parking spaces, to reduce your required number of loading spaces from, I believe you would be required 1 loading space. So it would just be different variances. And we want to make sure that at the end of the day, when if your application gets approved, that you can actually you can go get your building permit and do what you want to do. So, so that was why I wanted you to maybe take another look at that.
Well, currently, there are concrete bumpers all along between the two properties, between the two apartment buildings, between the two apartment parking lots. And that's a garbage space. And if we do not require any additional parking spaces, we won't put them in if you don't want them, but we're proposing to provide additional visitor parking spaces. We're just trying to make everything better, and we do want to work with the city, and that's why we found it just so extremely onerous that such a tiny variance, which I thought was minor, became so onerous suddenly.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, my concern as development planning staff was simply this new loading space being in the front yard. So a variance.
Can we call it something else?
A variance to provide no loading spaces I would be better able to support that rather than one right at the sidewalk's edge with no land. Like it's right there. I don't know. It's trucks. It's that's what it looks like on the plan to us, that people are going to be moving, sort of like having a truck parked there, right? So so that's why I can't support it. It's a new loading space right in the front, no screening. A different variance that would allow this proposal to go on, I could support. For example, no loading space. So I don't know if that helps you. The reason I recommended tabling rather than just doing it like that is that I just wanted zoning to, it's really not my purview. I wanted to make sure that that's what was required and that there was no other variances that might be triggered, should you revise that proposal. I hope that helps to sort of explain.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Alvin?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few confusions here about what's going on, what the diagrams and drawings are. I think it would be better off if you tabled this till you get it straightened out with the planning and Sarah, so that everybody's happy and then there's no way of complaints coming in afterwards or things not being changed afterwards. So, the owner, I would like to make a motion to table.
Okay, I will make a motion to table.
Sorry, so the motion is already on the floor and it is now up to the chairman to speak. Thank you.
Very good.
Yes, the motion is on the floor for table. Seconder, please.
I have Nancy.
All in favor of the motion to table?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
So that's carried. So motion to table. So John, if you can just get in touch with the planning department and just clarify, what you want to do and how to word it properly.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and I believe we're all set for the next one. So we are hearing HMA 2196 for 178 East 45th Street in Hamilton. And we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Welcome to our meeting, Dave.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or concerns?
Hi, Nancy. No, it didn't seem like there was any issues. I know there was 5 notes put on my list that I received, and I had dealt with a gentleman at the City Hall, and we had gone through all of those for height, for eaves trough, front porch. We confirmed the number of rooms as per the drawings. There may be something to do with the front porch, but one of the building department ladies told me that I can cover an existing front porch. And so it seems like every requirement that I need is covered.
Okay, does the committee have any questions or a motion?
Move it.
I have Laverne with a motion to approve.
Seconder?
I I have Nancy.
All in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none?
That's carried.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, and we're all set for the next one. So we are hearing HMB 2035 and HMA 2126 for 386 East 25th Street in Hamilton. And sorry, we have the agent registered to speak, as well as one interested party.
Morning, Chair, members of the committee, once again.
Yes, welcome to our meeting. Would you like to hear from the interested party?
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Chair. Definitely want to hear the concerns of the neighbors first. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so we have the uninterested party, Mary Doran, registered by phone. So you just need to press *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, good afternoon. I've already submitted a written statement on what my concerns were. They've been added to the comments here. I read through all of the comments from the Planning and Development Department. It looks like they are not willing to support what's been proposed to happen next door. I'm happy to see that. I mean, I don't have anything additional to add other than what I had put in my regular comments. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Now to the agent, I'm just wondering at this time, would you want to proceed or table?
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, at this time, we're actually going to proceed with the application and we'd like a decision from the committee today. And if it's all right, I'd like to just share a brief PowerPoint presentation with the committee and to go through the proposal.
Yes, carry on.
Thank you. Just bear with me for 1 second. Does everybody see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, wonderful. Still see it? Sorry, I'm just making sure.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, Mr. Chair, members of committee, I'm Ryan Ferrari. I'm representing the agent on this application. What I wanted to briefly do is just touch on the history of this application and sort of what's the difference between the previous application and today's application. So what you see in front of you today is a severance on East 25th Street for 2 single detached dwellings. This site plan that I'm showing here on the screen is the first iteration of the site plan. We brought this to committee last year. We received staff comments, and based on the comments, we tabled the application and we rejigged the proposal a little bit. So as you see, the first iteration of this proposal contemplated 5 variances to lot area, lot width, side yard setbacks, front yard parking, and no maneuvering space in the front yard. So what we've gone ahead and done is we've taken these comments back to the client. They've been responsive and they've eliminated variances from the application. So what we're seeking today is the same severance with 1 single detached dwelling on each property. The variances that we're asking the committee to look at and approve today are for lot width, to have 2 front yard parking spaces, and a reduction in front yard landscaping. So committee, we understand that staff don't support the proposal, but respectfully, we have to disagree with the comments. And so what I'm going to do is sort of break this presentation into 2 parts. I first just want to address the bottom 2 variances, being regarding the parking spaces and just regarding front yard landscaping, before I come on to lot width here. So the first variance I'd like to address is with regards to the front yard parking. So in this neighborhood, it's very common to have single detached dwellings with parking in the front yard. The reason this is just down the street on East 25th, ostensibly we have one car in each driveway, but as you can see, a second car could fit no problem. It's a common condition in the neighborhood. Here's another street view image just down the street on East 25th. As you can see, it's very common to have 2 front yard parking spaces here. And so respectfully, we request the committee grant this variance. It's totally minor and is consistent with the character of the neighborhood.
Ryan, could I interject? Do you have a lot number or house number for these ones that are just down the street?
Mr. Chair, that's an excellent question. If possible, I can get them for you after the presentation. They're just down the street. Like we're talking like maybe 10 houses down. I don't have the exact addresses, but I can definitely get you that after my presentation for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on with regards to the second variance we're requesting is for landscaping in the front yard. So as the committee is aware, we require 50% landscaping and 50% hardscape in the front yard. So for the top lot here, 386 East 25th, we're proposing 39% landscaping instead of 50. And what this really represents in real numbers is a deficiency of 13 square meters. So it's our submission to you that this variance is very minor in nature. It is not a lot of space that we're deficient in here. As you can see, there's plenty of rear yard space and there's plenty of room in the front still, despite the driveway, to accommodate plantings and landscaping. Furthermore, committee will note there's 2 parking spaces here that meet the proposed bylaw. And part of the reason why the landscaping has been reduced slightly is to accommodate both parking spaces in the front yard. This is the same case for the dwelling at 388 East 25th Street. Same situation, we're deficient 14 square meters in landscaping. So respectfully, we request the committee approve these variances. They're very, very minor in nature and they don't represent a lot of missing landscaping. So onto the crux of the issue, in our opinion, is the width of the lots. Are these 2 lots that we're proposing appropriate for the neighborhood? So my submission to the committee is that this neighborhood is eclectic. It's got a mix of land uses. This is just across the street, the top picture here. Across the street on East 25th, we have townhouses here. This is a city housing development. And down the street on East 25th, even further, we have these 1-story and 1.5-story bungalows. And that's what we're proposing here. These are just some more examples of the built form character of the street. We see a lot of 1-story and 1.5-story bungalows. So what I want to bring to the committee's attention is this is the subject lands in red here. As you can see, the subject lands and the lands just abutting to the north here where my mouse is, these are the largest lots in this whole neighborhood, okay? So, and as you can see, there's a mix of lot sizes. There are some larger, some smaller, especially on East 24th Street, you have a bunch of smaller lots here. And there's even more examples of this. So this is further up on East 25th Street. We see the large variation in lot sizes. We go down to 9 meters, which is what we're proposing, down to 8 in some places, even as large as 16. So, and there are more examples here. This is also on East 23rd Street, which is just west of the property. As we see, we have many 9-meter wide houses, and the built form is consistent with what we're proposing, 2 to 1.5-story dwellings. And finally, on East 27th Street, this is further west from the property. Again, we have a mix of lot sizes, and we have as low as 8.9 meters, 9.3 meters. So we just asked the committee to take that into consideration. So finally, just to wrap up here. So with regards to the proposal, this is consistent with what's proposed in the neighborhood. What we're proposing in 2 single detached dwellings and a severance here is not inconsistent with what's proposed. The lots do need a variance for lot width. However, there are other examples of I've shown in the neighborhood of a reduced lot width here. And finally, I'll just note for the committee, what we're doing here is we're implementing the proposed intensification plan that's proposed by the province. As you heard before, the city is implementing policies for secondary dwelling units, and there's intensification going on all over the city, including the downtown. But our submissions to you is that look, some of this intensification has to happen in the neighborhoods as well. And given the evidence around this neighborhood, the mix of lot sizes, the fact that we're not proposing something that's inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood, it's our submission to you that this is appropriate intensification, that this application should be approved, represents good planning, and is moreover consistent with the neighborhood. The only thing I'll leave the committee with is the definition in the official plan with regards to consistency. So consistency doesn't necessarily mean, as defined in the official plan, as the same as. It's defined as being mutually being able to coexist with. So my submission These lots are appropriate for the neighborhood. They represent an appropriate amount of intensification and should be approved. So those are my submissions to the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any at this time. Thank you.
So back to the committee, questions, concerns?
I have Margaret.
Yes, I couldn't help but notice that it looks like the basement is kind of set up to install a secondary unit at some point. Is that correct?
So through the chair, to be clear, at this point, we're proposing a single detached dwelling on each lot. At this point, we're not proposing a secondary dwelling unit in either lot.
So the secondary, the entrance from the basement. Okay.
Through the chair, maybe just for clarification, that's part of a walkout. So this is indeed one unit on each property.
Anyone else?
I have Nancy.
To the applicant, I didn't see, well, I did see a bunch of neighbors that were not happy, but was there any discussion with the neighbors at all?
So, my apologies. Through the chair, so at this point, no discussions happened with the neighbors, but just in regards to the concerns, one neighbor had a concern with the demolition of the property. And so, well, respectfully, any house can be demolished at any time. And obviously proposing demolition here, but, the demolition of an existing dwelling shouldn't prohibit the ability to sever in this case. Another concern was with regards to traffic. So transportation planning had no issues. They didn't require a traffic impact study. And, our submission is we have enough maneuvering space in the front yard to accommodate appropriate ingress and egress, and we don't anticipate any traffic impacts. And I believe the final one with regards to housing, one neighbor noted that we didn't need any more housing. So, as planners, it's important that we consider a lot of these intensification projects. They're really important. Yes, there's going to be, like I said before, there's going to be some intensification in the downtown, in other areas, but, that doesn't exempt intensification in the neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? If there's no questions, entertain a motion.
I have Thomas.
I can. I'll move to deny.
We have Thomas with the motion to deny. Oh, sorry.
Yes, yeah, that's okay. Seconder for the motion for denial.
I have Margaret.
Before I call for a vote, are there any more questions? Seeing none. Call the vote. All in favor of denial? Opposed?
Okay, I have Laverne opposed. And Mark, I'm assuming you're not opposed?
Not opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, motion is denied. Hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair, members.
Thank you.
Back to the city.
The other thing I wanted to ask you.
Okay, so we are all set for the next one. Just making sure I'm in the right order. So we are hearing SCA 2198 for 22 Hargrove Way in Stony Creek. And we have the agent registered to speak and no interested parties.
Is the agent available?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and staff. My name is Michael Edwong with Armstrong Planning.
You had a chance to read the comments. Do you have any questions or concerns?
I did have we did have concerns with the development engineering comments regarding the drainage swale. We got a chance to speak with the development engineering. They've since reviewed it, and they've indicated that there is no drainage issues, and that the comment that they had provided is no longer applicable. They sent an email this morning at 11:45 to Ms. Sheffield, indicating as such. So as long as the committee is accepting this email, I have no further comments on the staff report.
Okay,
Motion
thank you.
for approval.
Sorry, Jamil, did you get the email?
Yes, I believe that was shortly before our other meeting. So I'm not sure. Did others planning staff receive it?
It was
Can you speak to it? Yeah, so Velimir, I think he's able to speak to it.
Through the chair to the committee, yes, we have actually received that email, and I confirm that what the applicant is saying is accurate.
Okay.
Motion
do
to
you have a
approve.
motion?
Yes.
Seconder?
Motion to approve.
I have Nancy.
Okay, Nancy. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none.
Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're all set for the next one. So we are hearing SCB 2124 for 244 Federal Street in Stony Creek. And we have the agent registered to speak, as well as Councillor Pearson, and no interested parties.
Is the agent available?
Yes, I am. Miles Weeks. I'm a land use planner with AJ Clark and Associates.
Okay. Would you like to hear from the councillor first?
Yes, please. Go ahead, Councillor.
No, I have no issue with this severance. I'm sorry, I didn't remember if there are any conditions, but I have no issue with this application. Thank you.
Okay, to the agent, do you have any questions or concerns on the comments?
Nope, we agree with staff's recommendations for all the conditions and obviously for approval as well.
Okay.
I just wanted to make a note. There was one condition that was missed. That was from forestry, just for their general forestry conditions. It was included in their comments, but not included on the consolidation report. I have Councillor Pearson wishing to speak.
Sorry, can I ask what that condition is?
I believe it was their standard that a tree management plan be approved. Let me just see if I can grab it quick.
I'm trying to remember the property now. I don't know if Franz wants to mention, because I can't remember if there are trees on the property, and maybe Franz would like to just jump in on that as well.
Yes.
Or Miles, I'm sorry.
It's no problem. I'm working with Franz closely on this one. There aren't really any trees on the property. There is one out front, so that might merit the condition. But I think as long as any condition is to the satisfaction of whatever relevant manager would be required, then that's fine. If there are no trees, then they should be satisfied without a plan. And if there are trees, we can deal with it at the appropriate time.
Yeah,
Just wanted to
It's required then.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, because I just want to be sure we're not tying them on something they weren't even aware of till right now. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So if required, it's added.
Okay, Mark's made a motion.
And Mark, just to clarify, your motion is for the forestry condition to be added with if required?
Seconded.
Yes.
Okay.
And Bob, you seconded? Yeah. All in favor? Opposed, if any? No, that's carried.
Seeing none?
Thank you, everyone. I'm out now. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks for your patience.
Bye-bye.
And we go back to.
Yes. I'm just grabbing it. Okay, so we are hearing FLA 2199 for 411 Concession 5 West in Flamborough. It was originally scheduled for 1:35 for the committee members if you're looking through your notes. It was directly after Trinity Church and directly before 928 Barton Street.
Were there any concerned citizens on this one, Jamil?
No, there weren't.
Okay. Is the agent here?
I'm here.
Great. Did you read the comments? Do you have
I
any
did read
questions?
the comments.
concerns?
I don't agree with the city. Am I allowed to say a few words before you table it?
You have the opportunity to table if you wish, and then you could talk with planning and see if you can get more favorable comments if you wish.
I guess my question is, do I have a choice? It's either a table right now or a denial. I guess you guys vote, or can I say a few things just to clarify a few points before we table it?
Well, normally we would wish you to make a decision right up front, but does the committee willing to entertain a bit of discussion, or would you rather just table it at this time?
If he just has a couple questions for clarification, but if he's doing a whole presentation, then we have to make a decision.
No, just a few.
We don't like to have a full, if you have a couple, through the chairman, I'm fine with a couple questions, but not a whole presentation.
Okay.
That's just me.
First, I'd like to apologize for being ready at 1:30, and thank you for taking me at the end. Just a few things. I guess the building we're asking for is 233 square meters, and I was told by the owner that the existing house is 239 square meters. So the building is smaller than the existing residence, whereas the city has, or the planning department has said that the building is only 205 square meters, the existing house. And then basically the only other thing I would like to say is the planning department says that it's not in keeping with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is in Millgrove. It's out in the middle of almost nowhere. There's farm country surrounding the property. There's not a house within a few hundred feet of it. And there's thousands, tens of thousands square foot barns all around the property. So this building will be dwarfed in comparison to the others. Anyway, that's all I have to say. If you'd like me to table it, I'd like to table it if at this time.
Yeah, just a comment. There is another accessory structure in the back, and they may be using the square footage from that.
They are grouping the two accessory buildings together. So this building is smaller than the house.
So I'll entertain a motion to table, and you can talk with planning and maybe work something out with them, whether one or some of the accessory buildings could be taken down to alleviate some of the problem, but that's just a suggestion. So I'm looking for a motion to table.
I have a motion by Mel and seconded by Bob.
Okay, all in favor?
Here.
Opposed, if any?
Seeing none.
Carried.
Okay, that's it. That's all.
Thank you.
We shall adjourn the meeting.
Okay, Dale, I have a question. Dale, great job today. And I just want to let you know it was very, very difficult. And I tried my hardest to stay quiet the entire time. And I think I did okay. Very, very difficult when you're used to talking for 30 plus years. But great job.
Yeah, I guess I don't think
Good job, Mark.
Well, I'm used to
You're-
responding for this long. It's just, but I kept quiet. I was good. And I.
He almost made it. He almost made it.
I mean,
only
he's
try
still
to
a
help
committee
when it was
member, so
helpful.
he's still allowed to speak.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
At least, Mark, you get to vote every time now.
Yeah. Okay, guys. See you in a couple weeks.